Welcome back, Deep Divers. Today, we are diving headfirst into ancient Egypt.
Specifically the era of the Pharaohs.
Ah, the Pharaohs. I've got a mountain of research here, books, articles, all about them. So we're about to embark on a crash course on one of history's most captivating civilizations.
A civilization that, even after all these centuries, never ceases to amaze.
Right. It's more than just pyramids and mummies, though. Those are definitely cool.
Oh, absolutely.
We're talking about a society that flourished for millennia, longer than some religions have been around.
That's an incredible thought, isn't it?
It really is mind-boggling.
It is.
We'll tackle their complex belief system, incredible architecture, even daily life for the average Egyptian.
We'll unravel the secrets of the Pharaohs.
Unravel them. So where do we begin with all this research on ancient Egypt?
Well, a good starting point would be the timeline of the Pharaohs.
The timeline, okay.
That's a period stretching from around 3100 BCE to 30 BCE, over 3,000 years.
Wow,
To put it into perspective, that's longer than the time from the birth of Christ to today.
that's longer than, wow, okay, that's a lot to unpack. So this massive chunk of time is divided into what historians call kingdoms and intermediate periods.
Right.
Can you explain why those distinctions are important?
Absolutely. The kingdoms, like the Old, Middle, and New Kingdoms, they were marked by strong central authority, political stability, and significant cultural and architectural achievements. The golden ages of ancient Egypt.
So times of peace and prosperity.
You could say that, yes.
But then you have these intermediate periods. They sound a bit less glamorous.
More turbulent times, for sure. The intermediate periods were characterized by political fragmentation, social upheaval, and even foreign rule. For example, the second intermediate period saw the Hyksos, a group from West Asia, actually take control of parts of Egypt.
Wow, a real shakeup. What allowed the Egyptians to reclaim their land from the Hyksos?
It was a combination of factors. There was a growing sense of Egyptian nationalism, a desire to expel those foreign rulers, but also advancements in military technology. They adopted new weapons and tactics like the use of chariots.
So they adapted and innovated to regain control. Fascinating. But let's get to the heart of it. What exactly was a pharaoh?
The pharaoh was the central figure in ancient Egyptian society. More than just a king, they were considered a living god, the intermediary between the people and the divine realm.
Wow, imagine being believed to be a living god. Did that belief system ever backfire on the pharaohs?
It certainly had its challenges. Maintaining that divine image while also effectively ruling such a vast and complex empire was no easy feat. There were times when a pharaoh's authority was questioned, challenged, even overthrown.
So it wasn't always smooth sailing, even for a god king. But with that divine status came immense power. What were the pharaoh's responsibilities?
They were the head honcho in every aspect of Egyptian life. The military leader, leading armies into battle. The high priest, overseeing religious ceremonies. The lawmaker and judge, whose word was law. Their decisions impacted the lives of millions.
Wow, talk about pressure. But wasn't this level of power also a potential source of instability? I mean, what prevented pharaohs from becoming tyrants?
That's a great question. While the pharaoh wielded immense power, there were some checks and balances. Powerful priests and officials could influence their decisions, and the threat of rebellion or invasion loomed if a pharaoh lost the support of the people or proved ineffective.
So maintaining a balance between divine authority and effective leadership was key to a successful reign. But we can't talk about the pharaohs without delving into the Egyptian belief system. Their religion was woven into every aspect of their lives, wouldn't you say?
Absolutely. Their complex cosmology with its multitude of gods and goddesses shaped their worldview, their art, their architecture, even their daily routines.
Okay, bring on the gods and goddesses. We've all heard of Ra and Osiris, but there's a whole pantheon of deities. Who were some of the key players and what made them so important to the Egyptians?
Well, you've got Amun, the chief god of Thebes, often associated with the sun god Ra. Together they represented creation, power, and kingship. Then there's Osiris, god of the underworld and rebirth, and his wife Isis, a powerful mother goddess and protector. Their story is central to Egyptian mythology and their beliefs about the afterlife.
And what about Horus? I always see those images of the pharaohs with the falcon imagery.
Ah, yes, Horus. The falcon-headed god of the sky, often depicted as a symbol of pharaotic power. He was believed to be the son of Osiris and Isis, and played a key role in avenging his father's death and restoring order to Egypt. The pharaohs were seen as living embodiments of Horus, further reinforcing their divine right to rule.
I see how these myths and beliefs were intertwined with their political structure. We can't talk about Egyptian religion without addressing their obsession with the afterlife. It seems like it was more than just a concept. It's a driving force in their culture.
Exactly. For the ancient Egyptians, death wasn't the end. It was a transition to another realm. They believed that with proper preparation, the deceased could continue their existence in the afterlife, a realm ruled by Osiris.
Mummification is fascinating and a bit creepy to our modern sensibilities. It really speaks to the power of their belief in the afterlife. Do you think they ever worried about getting it wrong?
It was a complex and meticulous process with elaborate rituals and specific procedures. They believed that preserving the body and equipping it with provisions and spells was crucial for a successful journey to the afterlife.
So those elaborate tombs weren't just about showing off wealth and power, they were about ensuring a comfortable and successful afterlife.
Precisely. Their tombs were seen as eternal homes filled with everything the deceased would need in the next world: food, furniture, clothing, even games and entertainment.
And speaking of elaborate tombs, those awe-inspiring pyramids, the ones that dominate our images of ancient Egypt, they weren't just tombs, were they? What else can you tell us about their purpose and significance?
The pyramids were monumental expressions of power, religious belief, and architectural ingenuity. Designed to be eternal resting places for the pharaohs, they also served a symbolic function, connecting the earthly realm with the celestial heavens.
Like gateways to the afterlife. Incredible. But let's not forget, the Egyptians built more than just pyramids. Tell us about some of those other architectural wonders that showcase their ingenuity and artistic skill.
Prepare to be amazed, because we're about to embark on a journey through some of the most breathtaking structures ever built. The sprawling temple complexes of Karnak and Luxor, the mysterious Valley of the Kings, and the colossal rock-cut temples of Abu Simbel.
This is where it gets really exciting. Let's dive into the architectural marvels of ancient Egypt and uncover the stories behind these remarkable structures.
Let's start with Karnak.
Karnak.
A vast complex of temples, pylons, statues, all dedicated to the Theban triad.
The Theban triad, remind me.
Amun, Mut, and Khonsu. It's a testament to the power of the Amun priesthood and the grandeur of New Kingdom architecture.
It looks absolutely massive in photos. Give us a sense of the scale. How big are we talking?
Okay, imagine this. Karnak sprawled over 200 acres.
200 acres.
A complex that grew and evolved over centuries. Different pharaohs adding their own temples, statues, obelisks. It's a layered history, all in stone.
Not just one pharaoh's vanity project. Generations adding their mark. That's impressive.
Exactly. And then there's Luxor Temple, a stunning complex on the east bank of the Nile. During the annual Opet festival, a grand procession would travel between Karnak and Luxor, symbolizing the union of Amun-Re with the pharaoh.
Wow, I can just picture this elaborate procession with the pharaoh, priests, all those statues being paraded along the Nile. Must have been quite a sight.
It was a grand spectacle, a display of religious devotion and royal power. And then hidden away in the desolate hills on the west bank of the Nile, we have the Valley of the Kings.
Ah, yes, the Valley of the Kings. This is where they buried those legendary pharaohs, right?
Exactly.
Including, like, Tutankhamun.
Including Tutankhamun. For centuries, this valley served as a royal necropolis, a place where pharaohs and powerful nobles were laid to rest in elaborate tombs. And Tutankhamun's tomb, discovered almost intact in 1922.
1922, wow.
It offered an unprecedented glimpse into the burial rituals and treasures of a New Kingdom pharaoh.
It's amazing to think that his tomb remained hidden for so long. A real-life time capsule. What did the discovery of Tutankhamun's tomb reveal about ancient Egyptian beliefs?
It provided invaluable insights into their funerary practices, their artistic skill, and their belief in the afterlife. The sheer quantity and quality of objects buried with Tutankhamun, it speaks volumes about their preparations for the journey to the next world.
It seems like they really went all out to ensure a comfortable afterlife. But let's move on to another incredible site, Abu Simbel. I've always been fascinated by those colossal statues carved into the cliff face. Tell us about that.
Abu Simbel is a masterpiece of ancient Egyptian engineering and artistry. Commissioned by Ramses II,
Ramses II.
it consists of two massive rock-cut temples. The Great Temple, dedicated to Ramses himself, features 4 colossal statues of the pharaoh.
Colossal. How colossal?
Each one over 65 feet tall.
65 feet tall?
Just try to picture that scale. It's mind-boggling.
It really is. What was the purpose of building these temples in such a remote location?
They served multiple purposes: a statement of Ramses II's power and divinity, a demonstration of his control over Nubia, and a symbolic representation of his connection to the sun god, Ra. The temples were designed so that twice a year, on Ramses' birthday and coronation day, the rising sun would illuminate the sanctuary,
Oh, wow.
symbolically recharging the pharaoh's divine energy.
That's just incredibly clever and impressive. It makes you appreciate the level of knowledge and planning that went into these structures. But let's shift gears a bit. We've talked about pharaohs and monuments, but What about everyday Egyptians? What was their life like?
Right, it's easy to get swept up in the grandeur of the pharaohs and their monumental creations, but ancient Egypt was a complex society with people from all walks of life.
Beyond the pharaohs, priests, nobles, there were scribes, artisans, merchants, farmers, and of course slaves. How rigid was their social hierarchy? Could someone born into poverty ever climb the social ladder?
While social mobility was limited, it wasn't entirely impossible. There were cases of individuals rising through the ranks based on their skills or service to the pharaoh. Scribes, for example, held a prestigious position due to their literacy and administrative skills.
So education was a valuable tool for advancement, even back then. What were some of the other key professions in ancient Egyptian society, and what roles did they play?
Well, you had the artisans,
The artisans.
the skilled craftsmen and women who created those incredible works of art, furniture, jewelry. Then there were the merchants who facilitated trade and commerce both within Egypt and with other civilizations.
And let's not forget the farmers. They were the backbone of the economy, right? Providing the food that sustained this vast population.
Absolutely. Without the farmers, ancient Egypt wouldn't have thrived. They worked tirelessly on the fertile lands along the Nile, cultivating crops like wheat, barley, flax, and a variety of vegetables and fruits.
It all comes back to the Nile. It's not just a river, it's the lifeblood of this civilization. How did they manage such a vast and complex economy without modern technology?
They were incredibly resourceful and organized. They developed a system of bartering and used standardized weights and measures for trade. They also had skilled accountants who kept meticulous records of transactions, ensuring a smooth flow of goods and services.
Wow, it seems like they had a surprisingly sophisticated system for managing their economy. But we can't forget about their military. They needed a strong army to protect their borders and expand their influence, right?
Absolutely. The Egyptian army was a force to be reckoned with. They had a well-structured military with specialized units like charioteers, archers, and infantry. They also employed mercenaries from neighboring regions to bolster their ranks.
What were some of the key weapons and tactics they used in battle? Did they have any particular strengths or weaknesses?
They were skilled in both offensive and defensive warfare. Chariots played a crucial role in their military strategy, providing speed and maneuverability on the battlefield. They also used a variety of weapons, including bows and arrows, spears, swords, battle axes. They were known for their discipline and organization, but their reliance on chariots could sometimes be a disadvantage in rough terrain.
It's fascinating how they combined technological innovation with strategic planning. But of course, we can't talk about ancient Egypt without mentioning those famous pharaohs, the ones whose names have echoed through history. Khufu, Hatshepsut, Akhenaten, Tutankhamun, Ramses II. It's like a pharaoh's hall of fame.
Each pharaoh had their own unique story, their own contributions to the legacy of ancient Egypt. Some were known for their military conquests, others for their ambitious building projects, and still others for their attempts at religious or social reforms.
Let's dive into some of those stories. What made these particular pharaohs stand out from the crowd? Let's do a quick rundown of some of these big names. Got to start with Khufu, the builder of the Great Pyramid.
Of course.
That thing is an absolute marvel of engineering. What drove him to create something so colossal?
It was more than just a tomb. It was a statement of power, a symbol of his divine right to rule, and a testament to the sophistication of ancient Egyptian civilization.
It's unbelievable.
Keep in mind, the Great Pyramid remained the tallest man-made structure in the world for over 3,800 years.
Imagine the resources and manpower.
Exactly.
Speaking of powerful women in history, let's talk about Hatshepsut, a female pharaoh who ruled Egypt for over 20 years. Did she face any pushback from, those who believed a woman shouldn't be in charge?
She certainly challenged the traditional norms. To solidify her authority, she adopted the regalia of a male pharaoh, including the ceremonial beard, and even had herself depicted as a man in some statues.
Wow, talk about breaking down barriers. She must have been a savvy politician to navigate those challenges. Now, Akhenaten, he was a pharaoh who really shook things up religiously. He tried to introduce monotheism to Egypt, focusing worship on the sun god Aten. What led him to make such a radical change?
It's a topic that scholars still debate. Some believe he was driven by genuine religious conviction, while others see it as a power play to diminish the influence of the Amun priesthood.
So religion and politics intertwined even back then. It makes you wonder what life was like for the everyday Egyptian during that period. And then, of course, we have the boy king, Tutankhamun. His tomb is world famous. What makes him so fascinating, aside from all that gold?
It's the fact that his tomb was discovered largely intact. It's a time
A
capsule,
time capsule?
providing unparalleled insights into the burial rituals, the artistry, and the beliefs of the New Kingdom.
Amazing. And finally, no pharaoh's hall of fame would be complete without Ramses II. He's often considered the greatest pharaoh of the New Kingdom. What earned him that title?
He was a warrior, a builder, and a diplomat. He ruled for over 66 years, expanded Egypt's territory, constructed numerous temples and monuments, and secured peace treaties with neighboring kingdoms.
Okay, that's a pretty impressive resume. He seems like the quintessential pharaoh. But as with all empires, ancient Egypt eventually declined. What were some of the factors that led to their downfall?
It wasn't one single event, but a confluence of factors. They faced invasions from powerful empires like the Assyrians, the Persians, and eventually the Greeks and Romans. They also experienced periods of internal strife, economic instability, and political fragmentation.
A combination of external pressures and internal weaknesses. It's almost a little melancholy, isn't it? This incredibly advanced civilization that dominated for so long, ultimately fading away. What can we learn from their decline?
I think it highlights the importance of adaptability. Civilizations that fail to adapt to changing circumstances, whether it's new technologies, shifting power dynamics, or environmental challenges, often face decline.
It's a reminder that even the most powerful empires are not invincible. But even in decline, ancient Egypt left an indelible mark on the world, right?
Absolutely. Their innovations in mathematics, astronomy, medicine, architecture, and art influenced the development of countless civilizations that followed. Their architectural achievements continue to inspire awe, and their mythology still captivates our imagination.
So in a way, their story continues. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive into ancient Egypt.
We have.
We've explored their timeline, their belief system, their architectural wonders, their daily life, and their ultimate decline. What are some of the key takeaways you hope our listeners walk away with?
I think it's crucial to understand that ancient Egypt wasn't static. It was a dynamic civilization that evolved over thousands of years. It's also important to recognize the contributions of all levels of Egyptian society, not just the pharaohs. Scribes, artisans, farmers, they all played a vital role.
It's a reminder that history is made by people, real people with their own lives, their own challenges, and their own triumphs.
And finally, I hope our listener walks away with a sense of wonder. Ancient Egypt is a testament to human ingenuity, creativity, and resilience. It's a civilization that continues to inspire us, teach us, and challenge our understanding of the past.
Well said. As we wrap up this deep dive into ancient Egypt, I have one final thought for you. We've only just scratched the surface of this fascinating civilization. There's always more to learn, more to explore, and more to discover. What aspect of ancient Egypt intrigues you the most? What else would you like to know? Keep that curiosity alive and keep exploring the mysteries of the past. Happy digging.